Hey guys, how's it going? I wanted to make a second part to my video. Uh, what is Blizzard thinking with Warriors over Reaction Friday? And I want to start off with this first comment, and then we're gonna kind of go into some other things. But this first comment kind of cooked me, but in like a really good way. I actually liked what they said. So from Miko 45046, I feel you and I agree that if the remaining raids end up treating physical DPS this way, increasing armor to nerf, then I likely won't keep playing either. However, your post doesn't address core issues and really just sounds like complaining, which goes against what I think you're trying to do. You don't discuss how CBR is dual wield's only viable rune option, and in order to use it, you literally can only use Bloodthirst plus Whirlwind on CD and nothing else. You don't bring up that they're literally doing the opposite of what they originally said they would do by nerfing physical DPS instead of buffing casters. You don't bring up that a 15% flat damage increase to all melee would still only put warriors at the 6th highest DPS in class out of 9 at the 95th percentile and 7th at the 50th percentile. TLDR, you're in the right place, but you're just bitching instead of providing data points. And I completely agree with this. To give some insight, and like this is what I replied to the comment, like when I made this, I was very tilted. I was sitting there like leveling my warlock, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to make a video on this. I haven't made a video in a while, so I kind of just turned it on, hit record. But this is kind of my attempt to do one with more data points. So the first thing I'm going to go to is this is the armor data values. This is all through Simon Ice and Wowhead. So this is the bosses really in question are the final, or I guess really these kind of last few bosses which have a lot of armor. And then obviously you can look at the bleed and poison reduction. And I want to say like very quickly, all of this affects every physical DPS, and it affects physical tanks. So if you're watching this, and your main takeaway is that this is just about warriors, it's not. As a guild leader and someone who has been recruiting since 2020, balance is very healthy and good for the game. It creates a big loot pool for a lot of people to give loot, and it gives a lot of people options of things to play. It gives you a wider pool to recruit from as well. Um, and again, just healthy for the game. It brings in new players. Like casters being good is a good thing. By the way, I want to state that casters were good in vanilla. Mage was a top 3 DPS. Warlocks were getting into speed runs, and Warlocks were getting into guilds. Their curses were massive. So when I originally came into SOD and I heard balancing, I thought that makes sense. They're going to be balancing the classes like Enhanced Shaman, which was not good at all in vanilla. It was unplayable. Red Paladin, which at very best is doing more damage in a tank. Like that's peak Red Paladin in vanilla. Um, and like Bounce Druid and Shadow Priest, like those are the things. Was my understanding from the buffing, and maybe making Warlocks and other stuff like a little bit stronger, because people still wanted to play Warlock in vanilla. Like this wasn't just like no one wanted to play it, but these classes being good make it easier to recruit. If you have a class that is like really niche, like TBC, this is a huge thing with shamans. Resto Shaman was very good, but there were better options available. And Hanson and Ellie were kind of not very fun to play, but they were very pivotal in a role for a raid. So you needed those classes, but people just didn't really want to play them. And that's where it becomes a problem. So balancing is very healthy, and it's very good for the game. So let's look at the armor now. So this is the approximate armor for Thermoplug, which is 4.4k. And then you obviously have 4.4k for Crowd Pummeler. And the rest of these aren't horrible. Like Menagerie is still really high, 3.7k and 3.7k for Electrocutioner. That's still way too high. And then with debuffs, you're really just bringing these down ever so slightly. And now here's my next point. Saffron is inarguably the hardest boss of vanilla. I think, well, KT is obviously a little bit harder, but Saffron is a very hard check. Playing on Era, on and off, since 2022, Saffron is still one of the only fights that I get nervous on. I don't get nervous with Forestman anymore, but Saffron and KT I still get nervous on because it's so quick for this fight to go south. But Saffron has 4.6k, almost 4.7k armor. Why does a Frost Dragon, the second to last boss in Nax 40, the hardest raid in all of Vanilla WoW, have almost equivalent health to a level 40. Should look up Kel'Thuzad. I'm curious on Kel'Thuzad's health now too, or armor. Kel'Thuzad has 3.7k health, the hardest, almost 3.8k armor. Why does he barely have more than two bosses that are going to be very forgettable? The level 40 level up raids for 10 mans have more, barely more armor than those. Like I don't understand it. Like I would actually almost argue that Menagerie has more mechanics than KT. Like having just as much armor, the obviously bleed reduction and poison reduction is also huge on these bosses. Like so, it's not even, it's just the armor. The mechanics are melee unfriendly, and the the armor is just a lot, even with damage, like even with reductions. Like it's not good. This is not well thought out at all. This is very piss poor. Like that's really the only way I could put it without getting riled up from last week. And my biggest thing from all this is that what we have been told and what the team has even backed up, like Agron's talked about this, is that this is the self-proclaimed season of dads. They want this to be ultra casual, and they've obviously catered to the ultra casual audience, which is fine. Everyone should be able to play the game they want. But so when you have that, this, which I don't mind. I don't mind that the content's harder. Like these bosses being not like tank and spake is actually very fun. Like I enjoy it. Like Thermoplug is actually a fun fight. Menagerie's very easy, but like all these fights are fun. Like I enjoy Nomergon, but having like these super heavy like this, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit what they're going for in the seasons of dads, in my opinion. And the whole thing is you implement this rune system to balance it. That's how you're balancing it. Like it's you're like, okay, again, we're gonna balance Shadow Priest. We're gonna give him all these runes from talents from later expansions, or just kind of change stuff on that. And it's like, cool. Like that's balancing. That's how it's gonna work. They've laid out the foundation. That's what they're gonna do now. But instead, the balancing doesn't work. The rune system clearly isn't working. So they're now having to add in another form of balancing, which doesn't work. Like instead of just putting up these armors and bleed reductions and poison reductions, they should really just fix the runes and try to make sure that every class adequately is balanced via runes. If Warrior's not top dog, that's fine. I'm going to say that again because I feel like that's the takeaway some people just keep getting from the video. My issue is feeling useless on this fight. I'm not able to generate rage properly. The runes that they're giving me aren't very good, so I don't even have that. And I feel like dead weight on that fight. Like I don't have a ton of mobility. It's not good. It's not good. And this is a comment too. I had 2 warriors quit in phase 1 for this reason. CBR is one of the best runes they've given us, which they've nerfed. It's horrible. It's having to wait till 80 rage feels not fun at all, and that's one of your best runes. The other one is just damage and movement speed increase when dual wielding. And another one is just another ability you get when you're enraged. That was phase 1 Biss. Like those are not fun. And right now, all we get is Slam is 6 second. Like so, really not much is changing in terms of gameplay. This is not good. This is not fun for warriors. A lot of other physical DPS, like classes that you'd expect to get balanced, like Red Paladin, are also getting completely shafted. So like, buff this for all the physical DPS. Remove this. Keep the overpowered runes for their classes. They can have them, but just take this out. Give us at least an even playing field. The math has been done. The armor is not going to be a make or break difference for warriors. Warriors are not going to get gear like they did in phase 1 and outperform. I say warriors specifically for this because warriors scale the hardest with gear. Other physical DPS classes, unfortunately, not as much. But this is not a fix. This is not a smart move. This is not a good way to attempt to balance the game. Fix the runes and the system that you implemented and hyped us all up on, instead of putting in really, pardon my French, really the only way I can describe it, really lame, shitty counter metrics to do this. Because if you're using this logic, caster shouldn't be able to hit any elementals. Caster shouldn't be able to hit any elementals in Molten Core. It doesn't make sense from a lore and RP perspective. It ruins my immersion. And I'm saying this because I've seen that. Well, you really thought big robots would have less armor than Ragnaros? Like, yeah. A level 40 10-man raid? Yeah, absolutely. Level 40 10-man level up raid. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I did not expect the first video to get 1.5 thousand views, let alone 200. So I'm very happy with that. I'm very appreciative of that. I've gained some new subscribers. So again, I'm very appreciative of that. I've gotten a lot of love in the video, and I really appreciate that. Um, Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Hope you guys, if you had the day off for President's Day, hope you guys had a long, wonderful weekend. Anyways, take care, guys.